morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, we'll have the story behind the unique name of Joplin High School quarterback, Always Right. And several Kansas bar and nightclub owners are joining a federal lawsuit challenging some coronavirus restrictions. For our Something to Talk About, we're asking whether or not you think there should be restrictions targeted towards bars, and if so, what they should entail. You can also participate in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
What a marvelous Wednesday morning we're in the midst of right now. A little cloud cover down there in the south and central portions, staying on the dry side. But from the Freeman Health System sky camera, 45 degrees already. You cannot beat that, and the humidity not too bad. So that means we don't need to worry about any fog this morning. 37 in Monette, 41 in Monette, 37 in Fort Scott, and 37's a trio of them in Neodesha, Independence, and in Parsons. So the great thing is well above freezing. We'll jump to the bus stop forecast here. I wanted to really point out, look at what's developed in the Northeast. Remember yesterday we were so dry? Well, I'll tell you what, that old trough of the jet stream decided it was going to pop up a low pressure system there over the northeastern portion of the United States and just start pouring snow on it. Luckily, we don't have to worry about anything like that. As a matter of fact, our temperature is going to cruise into the 60s today. We're going to be almost abnormally warm for this time of year, to the point where we're talking about throwing up some 70s on Thursday. A whole lot of sunshine coming our way. Now remember, Friday is the one we're anticipating. Will begin with rain, followed by a cold front. Look at the old arrow that we got on there. Temperatures is going to drop down Friday, Saturday, about a 30-degree difference from where we'll be for the next 2 days.
Loving what you're calling for tomorrow, 70 degrees.
Oh, how about today?
Yeah.
The start we're off to right now, average high this time of year will be 48. We're 3 degrees off that. Sunrise isn't here until 7:21.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'll take it, that's for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin officials released more information on a fire at the historic Olivia apartment building. Firefighters were called to the scene around 9:30 Monday night. The fire was contained to the 5th floor of the building. Crews were able to put out the fire around 1 a.m. with the last crew leaving at 3:15 yesterday morning. Now, the building was vacant and the fire is still under investigation. Fire Chief Ferguson says the investigation will be a hard one, and that's because crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire. Crew members did have to disconnect power, and there was no gas to the structure. The lower levels of the building suffered water damage.
It's really unfortunate to see the damage that occurred. There was so much hope for a development that might still be possible, but again, kind of a sad night.
The unoccupied building was recently named one of Missouri's 2020 places in peril by the Missouri Alliance for Historic Preservation. In Nebraska, 2 people were killed when a house exploded early on Tuesday. 2 others are critically injured. It happened the day after the homeowner filed for a protection order against her grandson. Alyssa Curtis reports.
2 are dead and 2 more are in critical condition after a house exploded this morning. Fire, police, and rescue units were called to 51st and L Street at 8:15 after neighbors heard what they thought was a bomb.
I heard a very loud explosion. It sounded almost like something was bombed. And I flew out of the house thinking it was my house.
Omaha Fire Department has not found the cause of the explosion just yet. They're combing through all the debris to put the pieces together.
There's just so many variables to tell right now. That's why we have to investigate it, kind of piece it together to see exactly what it was that made that house explode. As you can see, that explosion was pretty big. It leveled the house.
It was just yesterday that the homeowner, Teresa Toledo, filed a protection order against her own grandson, Alexander Toledo. She claims in the filing that he's on drugs. She wrote she needed him out of her house before he harmed her or destroyed the house. That order was granted Monday afternoon. Teresa and her daughter Angela, Alexander's mother, both died in the explosion. According to our news partners at the Omaha World Herald, Alexander was taken to a burn unit in Kansas City, and the other survivor was taken to the Nebraska Medical Center. The house is a complete loss. The 2 houses directly next door are both severely damaged by fire. One neighbor saw the flames and jumped into action. Jeff Mell ran towards the house and helped pull one man out.
I ran, yeah, exactly. I don't know, just snapped. I heard the screaming. I think that's more what prompted me into going. I don't know, just it was a horrifying scene, but I'm kind of glad that we got him out.
The fire department says it will be a lengthy investigation.
The entire block was initially evacuated so authorities could make sure everything was safe. The people who could have now returned to their homes. Joplin police arrest a man they say assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. On Saturday, officers responded to the area of Euclid and North St. Louis. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. They say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found 36-year-old Aaron Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. The JPD says they've submitted charges for the crime of second-degree assault against Aldridge. Health officials in Wilson County, Kansas, try to keep up with an influx of coronavirus cases. The county recently exceeded 400 total cases, with 30 of those coming in over the weekend. And now their contact tracers are working to find all of those exposed, but are having a hard time keeping up. And the health officer explains their local hospital is not equipped to handle COVID-19 patients who need intensive care. But they are having a hard time finding beds available at larger hospitals. Here's an updated look at coronavirus cases among some of our area counties. Jasper County has had 5,297 total cases. Newton County is reporting 3,368 cases. McDonald County has had 1,715 cases. And Crawford County is sitting at 2,665. And Ottawa County has had a total of 1,973 cases. It's 5:07.
Hey, wind is going to shift to the southwest here, and that's really going to help us out temperature-wise as we're going to make it up into the high 60s today. We're going to come close to record-setting territory here for the next 2 days. Record for today would be 71. Don't think we quite get there, but look at what we've got cooking here on Thursday. As like I said, 70 is what we're kind of throwing out there as far as, you know, your average high. So there's a chance there, Joplin Regional Airport, maybe Chanute. We even do break a record for Thursday when it comes to, what would that be? The 10th. Yeah, today's the 9th. So yeah, tomorrow 10th.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, that's a look.
Do my calendar.
So if today's the 9th, and that means...
That means tomorrow is the 10th. I say with all certainty in my head.
That means 16 days till Christmas.
Yeah, something like. I didn't go to math school, Tanya. I was told there would not be math involved in this profession.
I'm just telling you how many days you
Why
have
do
to
you think
get
I
your
ended up-
shopping done.
That's why I ended up here.
He waits
No
till
math.
the 24th. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, celebrating a holiday during the pandemic.
Hanukkah is a time for families to come together, but that can be a challenge during a pandemic. I'm Michael George with the creative ways people are celebrating Hanukkah traditions safely.
Plus, why several Wichita area bars are suing city and county officials over COVID restrictions. And Webb City opens up the basketball season at home, taking on the Lamar Tigers. We'll have highlights. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
It was opening night of the high school basketball season for the Webb City boys. Webb welcoming in the Lamar Tigers. And now the Cardinals entered the season as the two-time reigning district champions. Now, just 10 seconds into the game, Cole Vaden says, I'm going to light this thing up. Boom. From the wing, then Nikai Howard straight to the rim with a hard right hand. Webb City up 14 after the first quarter. And they keep working in the second. Check out this finish from Howard. Whoo! Look, up and under. Vaden knocking down another long ball in the second quarter. Webb City up by 17. Just before the halftime, Joel Beshore with the steal. And Joel says, I'm going to take this one myself off the glass. Webb City in control, though. Cards win it big, 77-48. Webb City girls aiming for their first win. Also taking on the Lamar Tigers. First quarter, Kate Brownfield comes in, works hard on the offensive glass, cleans it up. Webb City up 2 after the first quarter. Second quarter, Sierra Kimbrough, catch fire now. Play a little defense, comes up with a steal bucket, foul on the other end. We just heard from her the other day about trying to pick up a district title as well. Kimbrough, more defense, picks it off. 15 points for her. 27-11 Cardinals. Third quarter, Lamar staying in it with Josie Adams, finishing on the break. She also gets the foul, but Webb closes it out. JD Duda, pull up. She had a team high 18. Webb City beats Lamar 54-35. Guy's name is Always Right. That's right, you heard me right. Always Right. He's a junior at Joplin High School. He's the Eagles quarterback. He's also the leading scorer on the basketball team. Our own sports director, Jacob Leonard, caught up with not only Always, but also his parents to get the story behind one of the best four-state names in the game.
If you've heard his name at a game, you may have done a double take.
I get that pretty often. I also get a lot of jokes, too.
Checking in from Joplin is number 1, Always Right.
He goes by Always Right, and it's not a nickname.
His full name is Joseph Always Right.
Wright is a junior at Joplin High School, and he has one of the most unique names in the game.
It's just me. I mean, I really don't feel different. A lot of people, at first surprised by it, but, I don't really think anything about it.
When I was growing up and I was in high school, I had a best friend, one of my best friends from here in Carthage. His name was Todd Webb. He was afraid that we were never going to stay in contact after I started my career and moved on. So he said, Joe, when you have your first newborn son, call him Always. So when he gets up in high school and college, when they start talking about him, I'll know how to contact you. The name actually caught fire, and everybody kind of likes the name, and people can get a hold of us through his name, Always Right.
It's a name sports fans will hear plenty over the next 2 years. Wright is Joplin's quarterback and the leading scorer on the Eagles basketball team.
When I first heard his name, I thought, well, those kids are going to be able to play, because with names like that, they better be. What Always looks like on the floor is kind of how he is off the floor. He just pretty laid back, easy going.
It's a tough name to live up to, but to Always Right, it's more than just a name, it's who he is.
I never call him anything else but Always. I never call him Joe or Joseph, I always call him Always.
I like it. It's pretty unique for me. I don't really think about it much, but I still think it's pretty cool.
You know, when you play the game, any sport, you got to go prove yourself anyway, and then names will take care of themselves.
And I don't think it puts pressure on him. It's just his name, and he knows it's just his name.
Now, it just so happens that Always is not the only one with a unique name in the family. You're going to hear this kid's name plenty in the next few years, as he has a younger brother who's a freshman. His name is All Right. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, a vaccine across the pond.
A possible turning point for the coronavirus pandemic as the UK starts to distribute a vaccine. I'm Greg Falcott in London. That's my story coming up.
And to check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. A little bit past 5:17, still a perfect time for weather on the 7s as we are off to a wonderful Wednesday start. A little cloud cover in the central southern portions down there. No rain associated with anything as our humidity very, very low. Good indicator that we're not going to have to worry about patchy fog as it's only at 56%. Whoa, can't beat that for a December morning. 45 degrees already in Joplin. Miami's still at the freezing mark of 32, 37 in Fort Scott, 45 already in Carthage. So no worries on the bus stop forecast, as it's going to be another sunshiny start. And we're quickly going to warm up. After sitting in the 40s, tell you what, we're under the ridge of the jet stream. We are going to take off this afternoon and make it up into the high 60s here a little bit later on. Going to be absolutely delightful. As a matter of fact, we're probably not going to break any records as far as what we're going to see on today and tomorrow. We'd have to get up, probably about 72, 73 to break records. But look at these temperatures for the next 2 days. Now, getting ready on Friday, because Friday is going to bring us a cold front that's going to drop us 30 degrees after the rain rolls through compared to what we're seeing today. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Nearly a dozen Wichita bar and nightclub owners have taken legal action against a list of city and county officials. They're joining a federal lawsuit challenging the current health order that limits capacity and reduces operating hours. Grant DeMars spoke with some of the business owners involved.
11 Wichita bars and nightclubs, and a federal lawsuit against a long list of defendants. Those include 3 current and 1 former county commissioner, Mayor Brandon Whipple, 3 city council members, Police Chief Gordon Ramsey, and Sheriff Jeff Easter. Local health officials like Dr. Gerald Mins also named in the lawsuit.
The government shutting our business down and literally cutting our legs off at the knees and not helping us. I think that's the biggest part of it too. We're not receiving any assistance at all.
Owner of Vorshay's Cocktail Lounge, Stephen Peter, says he and most other bar owners are not against masks, but they disagree with the limits placed on their businesses, especially the curfew. He says it feels like they're being targeted by local officials.
What we want to have happen is that we want to still be able to have our way of life and still be able to pay our bills and still be able to make a future after this is all over, because let's be honest, this will be over. I mean, and I think it's closer to over than not, and we're barely hanging on.
Mayor Brandon Whipple says he understands, but right now, COVID-19 is taking a huge toll on the community.
Particularly with the entertainment sector, they've been hit really hard with this. But again, we're in an unprecedented situation where our hospitals are overflowing right now with COVID patients. We are seeing, I think, 1/3 of all deaths since the beginning of this pandemic happened within the last 30 days. We are just in the worst spot right now that we've been when it comes to COVID.
If the federal lawsuit's successful, businesses could return to the way they were before the pandemic. No masks, no gathering limits, no curfews. Our question to you is, should there be more or less COVID-19 restrictions for bars? You can let us know what you think on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and take part in our Insta poll. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Health Watch is next.
Topping Health Watch this morning. Thursday evening marks the beginning of Hanukkah. But the pandemic is forcing many people to rethink their holiday plans. Michael George shows us how millions of Jewish families are finding ways to celebrate while keeping safe and socially distanced.
For Saul Blinkoff, his wife and 4 kids, Hanukkah is about family.
We look forward to Hanukkah all year. The kids count down the days.
But the usual big family gatherings are just too risky during a pandemic. Saul says they'll still gather with family from across the country, but this time it'll be online.
Thank God for Zoom. We Zoom almost every day with them. We will find Zoom opportunities to light our menorahs while our family is lighting their menorahs too, and we'll sing with them.
Jewish families nationwide are finding ways to keep Hanukkah traditions in a very untraditional year.
We're still doing it. We're still making it happen.
Jason Lievenberg of the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles says they've organized an 8-day Hanukkah festival called Infinite Light, and it's all virtual.
Just because we can't gather together and light the candles doesn't mean that you can't have a million Zoom cameras up or FaceTimes up and lighten all together with your family.
Lievenberg says during this difficult year, the joy and togetherness of the holiday are badly needed.
The ancient history of Hanukkah is all about resilience.
The Blinkoffs are showing that resilience by changing their typical plans to sing at a nursing home.
This year, unfortunately, we won't be able to go to a nursing home, but we will be investigating how we can find Zoom opportunities so our kids can sing again for people that might feel isolated.
Sharing the message of Hanukkah at a time when that message is more important than ever. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
This year, some synagogues are planning to remain closed during Hanukkah, encouraging families to celebrate safely at home. Healthcare workers are 7 times more likely to battle severe COVID-19 cases compared to people with non-essential jobs. That's according to British researchers who also discovered people working in transportation and social services suffer from severe coronavirus at twice the average rate. Findings show women, blacks, and Asians were disproportionately impacted. Outbreaks in schools appear to be lower following a national lockdown in England. Scientists in the UK say when some schools reopened earlier this year, less than 1/6 of students returned to class, resulting in low coronavirus infection rates and outbreaks. Doctors say strict protocols like smaller classes are important as the world grapples with returning to in-person learning. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Sunny skies and temperatures up into the high 60s today. Don't think we'll break any December records for the 9th and the 10th, but we will be close. as we even got the 70s then on Thursday. Get ready for the cold front. It begins Friday as the rain kicks in overnight Thursday into Friday morning and drops us all the way to the 30s for Saturday.
The latest on the investigation of a fire at the historic Olivia apartment in Joplin. Plus, Joplin police arrest a man accused of attacking a woman on the Frisco Trail. And a look at the strain the pandemic is putting on a Southeast Kansas rural hospital.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half-hour Morning Talker today is about coronavirus restrictions on bars. And we want to know whether or not you think restrictions should be targeted towards nightlife. And if so, how? We also invite you to participate in our Insta poll. Just visit KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker, a little cloud cover down in the south central portion of the 4 states, but no worry about any rain as we are actually on the very dry side. Humidity only at 56%. That means we don't need to worry about any Wednesday morning fog either. Already making it up around 45 degrees right now in Joplin. A little bit cooler down to the south. Miami and Grove only sitting at 30. But a whole bunch of temperatures that are going to be abnormally warm today. So for the bus stop forecast, yeah, you think probably going to be walking home a little bit warmer than what they anticipated. That's for sure. Mid-40s here by the time recess rolls around. And then how about we throw up some 60s, high 60s later on today? It's going to be absolutely delightful. Top out around 68, 69 degrees, and then Thursday, going to be very similar in nature. Big change coming on Friday, though. That's when the rain kicks in, followed by a cold front that's going to drop in from the northwest and put us down for the 30s, not only for the weekend, but those overnight lows going to easily drop below freezing all the way through next week.
All right. I'm looking forward to it before it gets cold. I'm going to focus on that.
We got a great 2 days on tap.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin officials released new information on a fire at a historic apartment building. Monday night's fire at the Olivia building on Moffett was contained to the 5th floor of the building. There were no injuries, but the building did suffer extensive fire and water damage, and the investigation is still ongoing. KOAM's Caitlin Shive shares some more details from officials and gives us a look back at the history of the building.
The Olivia apartment building has sat at 320 South Moffett in Joplin since February of 1906.
And Anton Bendelari was the person that had this vision that he thought that there needed to be some places to stay and close to the commercial center. And so a sophisticated apartment house came to mind, and he spent $150,000, which is a tremendous amount of money, to build this magnificent structure. And he hired Austin Allen, a local Joplin architect, to design it.
The building was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2008.
The designations are revered and are very special. And we also have districts, and in fact it's in the great community of Murfreesburg, the Murfreesburg district.
These original Austin Allen photographs came into the hands of Brad Belk with the Joplin Historic Society only a couple of weeks ago.
They're extraordinary because, to my knowledge, I had never run across anything to see what the building actually looked like in its first days of opening up.
But just as a new look into the building's history emerges, community members witnessed part of the beloved structure burn Monday night.
On Monday night, we were dispatched to 320 South Moffett for a report of fire on a roof. Our crews arrived, very familiar with the building, it being the Olivia Apartments. We found a 5-story, we knew it was a vacant apartment complex with heavy fire showing on the 5th floor, and it was through the roof.
Firefighters were able to contain the fire to the 5th floor and put out the flames by 1 in the morning. The fire is still under investigation. Electric was connected to the building at the time of the fire, but a cause is unknown for now as crews have been unable to reach where it could have started due to extensive damage.
It's heartbreaking. We had really been actively working on that property specifically with our endangered properties program this year and thought we had made a lot of great strides and that things were moving forward for it.
The Downtown Joplin Alliance has been working with developers to potentially restore the building into senior housing, but the future of that plan is now unknown.
They're not necessarily out. They're not sure at this point. Obviously some assessments going to have to be done.
The Olivia was also listed on Missouri's 2020 list of places in peril, something more true now than ever.
That's exactly what places of peril is this building is endangered.
In Joplin, Caitlin Shive, KOAM News.
The building also sustained water damage to its lower levels. Joplin police arrest a man they say assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. On Saturday, officers responded to the area of Euclid in North St. Louis. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. And they say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found 36-year-old Aaron Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. The JPD says they've submitted charges for the crime of second-degree assault against Aldridge. Oklahoma Highway Patrol is now asking for the assistance of any witnesses to a crash about 7:45 Monday morning on State Highway 10, around 1.6 miles northeast of Wyandotte. Officials say 20-year-old Alexis Crawford of Wyandotte swerved while trying to avoid a truck turning in the other lane and hit another vehicle. Crawford was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver and passengers of the other vehicle involved had only minor injuries. The Newton County Health Department reports 3 COVID-19 related deaths, bringing their total to 55. Those patients were all men, 2 in their 80s and 1 in his 40s. Health officials in Wilson County, Kansas, try to keep up with an influx of coronavirus cases. The county recently exceeded 400 total cases, with 30 of those coming in over the weekend. And now their contact tracers are working to find all of those exposed, but are having a hard time keeping up. And the health officer explains their local hospital is not equipped to handle COVID-19 patients who need intensive care, but they are having a hard time finding beds available at larger hospitals.
That's scary because if you have to call multiple places and it takes hours to transfer out a patient who can't breathe well, we get nervous, the family gets nervous, the patient is not in the place where they need to be, and so that makes it difficult for us to do to care for the patient the way they should.
Wilson County adopted a mask mandate into place on November 23rd. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We introduce you to a KOAM Toy Box family.
An Allen County family shares how the KOAM Toy Box is making Christmas merrier for them. I'm Kate Kelly with their story just ahead.
Plus, Mount Everest just got taller, and no, it's not some kind of mountain growth spurt. We'll explain, but first, it's 5:37.
Sunshine for our Wednesday. Temperatures all the way up into the high 60s, maybe even throw a 70 up there, so it's going to be a warm afternoon. That's a good 20 degrees above what we should be for the middle of December, and we're going to keep that trend continuing as we push into Thursday as well, where we'll definitely see some 70s. Now, Friday morning, that's when we get developments out to the west as number 1 rain rolls in on the backside of that. Big cold front. Now, we won't see any of the wintry mix. That'll stay out to the far west. But at the same point, look at our temperatures dropping back down into the 30s and 40s over the weekend. So all the more impetus to get out and enjoy what's going to be a marvelous 2 consecutive days. We'll be back with World Watch right after this.
Topping World Watch, UK public health officials dubbed Tuesday V-Day as the country started a mass COVID-19 vaccination program. Some people, however, are hesitant to be immunized. Greg Palka has more.
People across the UK rolling up their sleeves Tuesday to receive the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. The country becoming the first in the world to administer a clinically tested and proven COVID-19 vaccine, with some 70 hospitals inoculating people in this first wave. The government has ordered 40 million doses, with about 800,000 available in the beginning.
Any of us who were around in March or April would have given anything to think that we would be at this point where we have an incredibly effective vaccine.
First up for immunization, healthcare workers and people over 80. Officials urging patients, as most will have to wait until next year for the vaccination program to expand. But some people remain concerned about the vaccine's safety.
I just hope it doesn't have any side effects. So yeah, just see and wait, I guess.
Pfizer CEO assures the company didn't cut any corners.
That this vaccine actually was tested even
because of the scrutiny, with even higher standards in terms of how we do things.
But a big challenge lies ahead with billions of people worldwide needing to be vaccinated. Public health officials say immunity is still far off.
Even while we can now see the route out, there's still a long march ahead. We must all keep following the rules to keep people safe and make sure we can get through this safely together.
The UK could approve Moderna's vaccine in the next few weeks. Authorities in India say they have found traces of lead and nickel in blood samples from patients hospitalized in Andhra Pradesh. More than 500 people, including children, have been sent to the hospital in the past few days with a mystery illness. The patients reported symptoms as seizures and nausea during the weekend. Health officials said they also tested the water in New Delhi and did not find traces of lead and nickel. More tests are being conducted. Mount Everest is taller than previously thought. The height of the mountain, which borders China and Nepal, has long been disputed, so Chinese crews scaled the peak this year. Nepalese teams did the same last year, and the two nations agreed upon a new measurement. The new height is 29,031.7 feet, which is slightly more than Nepal's previous measurement by about 13 feet. All right, that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Good to see that's not a point of contention any longer. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. You have nearly a dozen Wichita bar and nightclub owners taking legal action against city and county officials. Our question to you is, should there be more or less COVID-19 restrictions for bars? We'll begin our comments with Michelle Piscini, who says, let people do as they wish, but before they enter, they have to sign a waiver refusing hospital care if they get COVID. These are the people who seem to forget the people who take care of them are also humans with families to go home to. Want to support local restaurants and clubs? Make donations to them. Order takeout. Make GoFundMe pages for the help. Just do it responsibly, Michelle says. Morning, Mama. Morning, KOAM. We say good morning, Michelle. John Trebian says, what's good for one is good for all. Let's get the vaccine out. Good morning, America, and good morning, John. And Becky Mangarelli says, maybe these bar owners should go to a hospital and tag along with some doctors and nurses treating COVID patients for a few days, then make an educated decision. I get it's hurting their pockets, but get creative with carside pickup and such. It's a tough time for all of us that are trying to be part of the solution. Dave Pitts, you now have me singing I Drink Alone by George Thorogood in my head. Ever since I saw your post, I'm just humming it. I drink alone. KOAM News Now Insta poll. Right now, 61% of you say there should be more restrictions for bars when it comes to COVID-19. Only 31% saying less. You can let us know what you think. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. News you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A mass coronavirus immunization campaign is now underway in the UK, fueling hopes that one will soon begin in the U.S. A new report from the FDA says Pfizer's vaccine appears to be both safe and effective. On Thursday, an independent advisory panel will vote on whether to recommend it be approved for emergency use. Health officials in Wilson County, Kansas, try to keep up with an influx of coronavirus cases. The county recently exceeded 400 total cases, and now their contact tracers are working to find all of those exposed, but are having a hard time keeping up. And the health officer explains that their local hospital is not equipped to handle COVID-19 patients who need intensive care, but they are having a hard time finding beds available at larger hospitals. Joplin officials released more information on a fire at the historic Olivia apartment building. Monday night's fire was contained to the 5th floor of the building. The building was vacant and the fire is still under investigation. Crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire. Lower levels of the building suffered water damage. Joplin police arrest Aaron Aldridge after he allegedly assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. Woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect, and they say 2 days later the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Good looking Wednesday as the sun's going to lift us up into the high 60s. A little southwest breeze, just 5 to 10 miles per hour, though. I think key factor is not having to fight high humidity, and that's going to limit any chances for fog here for the next 2 days. And then overnight we stay well above the freezing mark, an indicator of things to come as we're actually going to see the 70s on Thursday. Let's go ahead and fast forward here as we approach the weekend, because while Thursday stays on the clean side on Future Track, beginning Thursday night into early Friday morning, development not only of cloud cover, but then rain on the backside of it. So it's going to be pretty wet Friday. Should not have to worry about the wintry mix. That stays up to the northwest. But our temperatures will just steadily drop from Friday on into the weekend. So that cold front really going to make it feel like about 30s and 40s on Saturday and Sunday. So all the more reason to get out and take advantage of the next 48 hours that are going to be perfect. Of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
As you're probably well aware, the Koam Toy Box Campaign is underway, and we've been helping 4-state families for the past 32 years, and that includes one from Allen County, Kansas. Shannon Poor is a woman who actually remembers growing up with help from the Toy Box when she was a little girl, and now she's a mother herself. She says Toy Box is something she's glad she knows about. Kate Kelly has more.
Shannon Poor's history with the Koam Toy Box goes way back.
My parents done it when I was younger, and I've been doing it since I've had kids.
Shannon has 3 kids, 2 little boys ages 6 and 10, and a little girl who will turn 5 in April. She admits Christmas can be a challenge.
Being a single mom with very little income, it is very hard. But I try to do my best to get my kids what they want.
That's where the Koam Toy Box comes into play, partnering with distributors like the Iola First Baptist Church and Police Department. Shannon says the outpouring of love and support from the community is heartwarming.
When I got the call saying that they'd adopted my kids, I was excited that, our local police department done it, but it also brought tears to my eyes knowing that someone that we knew and the people that help us adopted my kids.
Shannon says she's grateful for the help she gets putting presents under the tree for her 3 little ones. So many families depend on your donations.
If it wasn't for them, then a lot of us wouldn't even have a Christmas for our kids.
You have another chance to donate next Tuesday. We'll be inviting your phone calls again on Tuesday during our noon, 5, and 6 p.m. newscasts. You simply make a financial donation over the phone, and we'll use that money to buy toys for area kids in need. Or if you prefer, you can go online to our website at any time and click on the Toy Box banner at the top of the screen. You'll see how you can either donate money online or personally deliver a new unwrapped toy at one of our drop-off locations. Michael?
Hey, Tanya, we're also unveiling our Notes to the North Pole. That's right. Got a great chance to have your kids kind of do a little virtual visit with Santa, because we know that this year is going to be a little bit different than all the rest. So what you do, you're going to go to KOMNewsNow.com, and then on the right-hand side right there, right here, you're going to click Share Your Child's Notes to the North Pole. It's going to pop open this page right here, and I tell you what, it's as easy as just filling out this form right here. And what we're going to do is Santa is actually going to be reading those on air on the KOM Morning News. So once again, Notes to the North Pole, all you have to do is submit this. Have the kids sit down, have them type it up. Kind of good for them, almost like a little miniature resume builder for them. And that way we make sure that, that Santa gets a chance to see how everybody's doing this year. Now, on the KOM News Now Facebook page this morning, there's a lawsuit in Wichita. It's got some bar owners suing city and county officials over the coronavirus restrictions. Our question is, should there be more or less restrictions when it comes to bars? As far as what we got from Rocky Cunningham, Rocky says, if Walmart or Target were in the bar biz, this wouldn't even be an issue, much less a topic. Just saying. Merle Bass says, say no to tyrannical socialist control. Say no to suppression, mainstream media propaganda. I'll come back, Rocky. Hang on. Merle Bass says, why not talk about the state-on-state lawsuits going on? Let me get into that, Merle. Richie Housley says, time to get on with life. If you're scared, stay home. Masks don't work anyways. There's no problem with letting 1,000 people in Walmart or Home Depot every day. And then Rocky gives us a family picture, if you will. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Yeah, remember what happened to that family? KOAM News Now Instapoll this morning. 64% of you say there should be more restrictions. 28% say less. You can make your voice heard. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. We'll be back right after this. We're in store for a gorgeous 2 days before the cold front arrives. On Wednesday, we're going to go sunshine, high 60s, and overnight staying well above the freezing mark. A great sign that Thursday we're going to throw up some 70s. But then look at what we have developing on Friday. We'll begin with the rain Friday morning and a cold front that'll drop us all the way down into the 30s and 40s over the weekend. And of course, you can always find the latest on the Skywatch weather app.
The latest on the investigation of a fire at the historic Olivia apartment in Joplin. Plus, Joplin police arrest a man accused of attacking a woman on the Frisco Trail. And a look at the strain the pandemic is putting on a Southeast Kansas rural hospital.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, Congress inches closer to reaching a deal on a coronavirus relief bill. And nearly a dozen Wichita bars are joining a federal lawsuit challenging some coronavirus restrictions. For our Something to Talk About, we're asking if there should be restrictions targeted specifically toward bars. You can also vote in our Instapoll at KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. But first, check on your forecast.
Not only a great looking start on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, but wonderful temperatures as well. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera, already sitting at 44 degrees, humidity staying low. That'll limit the potential for fog. 44 in Carthage, 35 in Neodesha, and 39 in Nevada. So no worries on the bus stop forecast. As a matter of fact, probably get away with maybe just like a light jacket or something like that compared to what we've had past couple of days. As all the precipitation, as far as wintry mix, stays in the far northeastern section of the United States. So our Wednesday is going to be tad bit warm, if you will. Look at that average high of 48. Yeah, well, we're going to cruise up around 68 degrees, and we're going to be able to roll that back-to-back days. Even see some 70s on Thursday. Big development begins Friday morning. It's not only going to bring us rain, but our temperatures plummet on the backside of it, as it's going to be a wet end of the work week and a chilly weekend. 30s and 40s on Saturday and Sunday.
All right.
So, yeah, from 20 degrees above to a 30-degree drop by the time we, get into Saturday.
That's Saturday, Sunday low. Ooh, those are gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna.
I think I'm gonna focus on today and tomorrow.
Yeah, today and tomorrow are going to be great. Chilly weekend. Yeah, try to get everything done like this afternoon and evening if you have the opportunity. It's going to be great for it.
For sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin officials released more information on a fire at the historic Olivia apartment building. Firefighters were called to the scene around 9:30 Monday night. Fire was contained to the 5th floor of the building, and crews were able to put out a fire around 1 a.m. with the last crew leaving at 3:15 yesterday morning. The building was vacant, and the fire is still under investigation. Fire Chief Ferguson says the investigation will be a hard one, and that's because crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire. Crew members did have to disconnect power. There was no gas to the structure. Lower levels of the building suffered water damage.
A couple of our trucks were flowing anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 gallons per minute for about 2.5 to 3 hours. So there's significant water damage to those floors. I do know that before we left, our crews are estimating there was about 6 to 8 foot of water in the basement.
The unoccupied building was recently named one of Missouri's 2020 places in peril by the Missouri Alliance for Historic Preservation. Joplin police arrest a man they say assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. On Saturday, officers responded to the area of Euclid in North St. Louis. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. They say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found 36-year-old Aaron Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. JPD says they've submitted charges for the crime of second-degree assault against Aldridge. Rural health care in southeast Kansas is getting hit hard by the pandemic. In Wilson County, Kansas, they've just crossed 400 total positive cases. 31 of those were over the weekend as they start seeing cases from the Thanksgiving holiday. 12 new cases came in yesterday morning. Now their contact tracers are working to find all of those exposed. Big job for the handful of contact tracers they have at the health department.
I don't think we are keeping up. We're doing the best that we can. We did have to set some boundaries because I really think that we could be here 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, if we let it happen that way.
Wilson County adopted a mask mandate into place on November 23rd. Well, James River Church in Ozark, Missouri is facing criticism for its weekend Christmas event. Pictures posted on social media show a large crowd with little social distancing and some not even wearing masks at a holiday pageant on the church's campus. Francis Watson got reaction from community members and health officials.
This is not okay. I want to get my life back to normal, and seeing images like that makes me so angry.
Cody Shackelford says he was disappointed to find out thousands of people gathered for a Christmas celebration at James River Church in Ozark. Pictures and videos we obtained showed large crowds with very little social distancing, some people not wearing masks.
I can go back to Facebook and make another snarky post if I want to, but I wanted to do something a little bit more impactful.
He filed a complaint with the Christian County Health Department. Local health officials, including Steve Edwards, president and CEO of Cox Hospitals, reminded us about the dangers of large gatherings during a pandemic.
If you've got gatherings that are enclosed, indoors, not masked, that's a super spreader event. It's very frankly is a super spreader event. You know, we've seen those in the country, and so we want to avoid those. And there's ways to congregate and go to church safely.
James River Church sent us video of an announcement they played before and during the event.
In order to keep people safe and in compliance with city ordinance, we are asking everyone to wear a mask, unless you have a medical exemption while you're here in the building or on campus.
I have complete respect for people who are wanting to be in person and be, at those together with others. Have the in-person services, sure, fine, but do it safely.
James River Church released a statement saying it takes seriously the safety and health of those who attend its services. The church also says they took several steps to keep people safe at the event by checking temperatures at the doors, fog sanitizing the auditorium between services, and providing masks to everyone who attends. Well, yesterday, the SEK Humane Society made online fundraising history, meeting a $10,000 goal that will be matched by the Ronald O. Thomas Foundation for a total of $20,000. That's the most money the shelter has ever made in an online fundraiser, and it will amount to nearly a year's supply of pet food. This donation will make all the difference for the SEK Humane Society, which has been struggling to keep up with nearly 100 animals.
We are so appreciative to the Ronald O. Thomas Foundation. It's events and programs like this that really spur movement in the community, and that's exactly what we saw. Again, we do not ever reach these online fundraiser numbers. So with their help, they made this Christmas miracle come true.
This was the first time the SEK Humane Society has ever gotten a matching donation. They'll be thanking the community with some fun free events and treats. Stay tuned to their Facebook page for more info. 6:07.
Warming on up. Going to make it up into the high 60s today. Absolutely delightful. Don't have to even combat the wind. Just a little 5-10 mile per hour breeze out of the northwest. Now, Thursday is going to be similar, up to the 70s, but look at what develops on Friday. Friday morning, number one, we start the rain. Number two, we got the cold front. Get out and enjoy the next 48 because we are way above average for this time of year.
That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the race to get a vaccine approved in the U.S.
The U.S. by tomorrow could recommend emergency use of a coronavirus vaccine. I'm Deborah Alfrone in Washington with the latest as we see cases skyrocketing across the country.
Plus, a recent survey estimates 10,000 more restaurants will close by the end of the year. We'll have the latest, and our own Jesse Irwin gets some tips on being a better neighbor.
Believe it or not, you can be a great neighbor even in 2020. Missouri Extension joins us with tips on how to do just that coming up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
In Money Watch this morning, some movement on Capitol Hill for a coronavirus relief bill. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he would shelve a provision to give businesses liability protections, but only if Democrats take out aid to state and local governments. It comes as a partisan group of lawmakers are working to pass a $908 billion package, but need McConnell's support to bring it to a vote in the Senate. Doordash goes public today. The food delivery company has priced its shares at $102. Doordash will trade on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol DASH. The company has thrived during the coronavirus pandemic, with revenue in 2020 already more than double what it was last year. Doordash controls about 50% of the U.S. food delivery market. Apple is out with new and expensive wireless headphones. AirPods Max will cost $549 when they launch on December 15th. Apple says the over-ear headphones are noise canceling and have transparency mode to allow users to hear things like traffic. AirPods Max can also automatically pause music when they're taken off. New restrictions proved to be the last straw for thousands of restaurants across the U.S. A survey by the National Restaurant Association shows 10,000 more restaurants are expected to close by the end of the year. Pandemic is already blamed for closing around 110,000 restaurants. According to the survey of 6,000 restaurant operators, 87% of full-service restaurants have reported a 36% average drop in revenue. Over 80% of respondents think the next couple of months will be even worse for business. And that's it for Money Watch. Here's Michael with our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page, lawsuit in Wichita from bar owners that are suing city and county officials over COVID-19 restrictions, asking if you think there should be more or less restrictions in place. Guy Hansen writes, turn, cover, cough, rational social distancing, enhanced sanitation, open all businesses to full capacity, and put the mask where it belongs. Guy would like to see it in a museum. Will Badius says this is all a plandemic that has nothing to do with our health or safety, but everything to do with control. Open everything up and stop the tyranny, Will says. Guy, I appreciate your pictures there from the Olivia, and I'm going to get to those here in just a little bit as well. One thing I do want to wrap up here before we go to break. Should there be more or less COVID-19 restrictions for bars? That's on the KOAM News Now Insta poll this morning. 62% of you say there should be more. You can make your voice heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. I'm going to turn back around here because we got a special thing coming up. It's called Notes to the North Pole. And all you got to do is you go to KOAMnewsnow.com. And on the right-hand side here, you're going to see good old St. Nick. And what you can do is click on that. And all you got to do is fill this out. Maybe you have the kids fill it out. Give them a little practice there typing as well. And we're going to get these to Santa, and he's going to read them on air. So all next week during the 6 o'clock hour of the KOAM Morning News. That's right, Santa's going to read from the list of our little girls and boys in the 4 states. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com, right-hand side, Notes to the North Pole. We'll be right back after this.
This morning we are joined by David Burton with Missouri Extension. And David, I'm very happy to have you here because one of my favorite topics in the world is, well, it's Mr. Rogers, but being a good neighbor. And so very naturally, Missouri Extension has its new program. Can you share what it means to be a good neighbor and how Missouri Extension is helping people do that?
Yes, well, it can mean many different things. We actually have 5 steps in our program to move you from being a resident to an engaged neighbor. So there are different components to it. I love that you mentioned Mr. Rogers, though. That's a great tie-in. And it really begins, being a great neighbor begins by learning and using the names of your immediate neighbors. We say the 8 closest front doors to your door. Works whether you're in an apartment or subdivision or even out in a rural setting. The 8 closest front doors.
So I understand you weren't even aware of you called it a gold mine you were sitting on in terms of your neighbors. So can you sort of share your own experience with this and what your goals are now that you sort of had this epiphany?
Yeah, well, about 2 years ago, I would have told you that I was a great neighbor. I mowed my lawn, I didn't throw loud parties, and I picked up after my dog when we went on a walk. So I was a great neighbor. And then it dawned on me that people had moved in over time, and I hadn't even taken the effort to get to know them. I didn't even know their names. And how can you have a relationship with someone when you don't even know and use their name? I mean, that's like the basic starting point.
That's
And
level one, right?
level one. And so, I had to go and reintroduce myself to neighbors and say, I'm going to do a better job at this. And, we have a little chart that we offer in our class, and, write these names down and remember them and use those names. It's a powerful tool.
So I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so, I grew up with neighborhoods, but when I moved to the 4 states, I learned that the equivalent of neighborhoods a lot of times is towns. And that dynamic and relationship between neighborhoods or between towns is very similar in that regard. And so do you have any tips for ways that maybe towns can interact in a neighborly way and get to know each other and maybe form a stronger bond?
Wow, these are big questions that you're asking. And
answers. I got it.
We have an epidemic of loneliness in America. About pre-COVID, 70% of Americans said they felt they were lonely. So it's an epidemic. And then by contrast, we do have some research showing 15%, some studies as low as 3% of Americans say they know their neighbors. That means know their name, have talked to them this month, know a fact about their neighbors. How people become connected with their local environment, how they become connected with their community and more involved and more in love with their community, no matter the size of that community. And really, there's lots of support for the idea that begins right there with your immediate neighbors, whether you're in a subdivision or a neighborhood or an apartment complex or trailer park or whatever, those immediate neighbors, that's the starting point.
That's awesome. Well, David, we really, really appreciate you sharing this info. If people want to learn more, where should they go?
Well, you can go to our extension website, extension.missouri.edu, and just search for neighbor. And in fact, we have several classes on there. We have a free monthly program called Introduction to Neighboring 101. So if you just search for Neighboring 101, you can register and join us on those monthly meetings.
Awesome. Well, we will have the link to that on our website as well, just to help you guys out, KOAMnewsnow.com. And David, thank you again.
Thank you for the time.
All right, we'll be right back on the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, the first coronavirus vaccine could be available at the end of the week if the Food and Drug Administration gets the go-ahead to approve an emergency authorization tomorrow. It comes as the country is seeing more than 2,000 people die every day from the virus. As Deborah Alfarone reports, health officials say there's still work to be done before the vaccine will make a difference.
Been incredible, and it will end the pandemic.
President Trump celebrated the rapid development of coronavirus vaccines at the White House yesterday.
We think by spring we're going to be in a position that nobody would have believed possible just a few months ago.
Tomorrow, an independent advisory panel will vote on whether to recommend Pfizer's vaccine be approved by the FDA.
Going like a dart, a 90-degree angle.
Anticipating its approval, hospitals are making last-minute preparations
975 doses
for safely handling and giving the vaccines.
Being able to maintain a minus 80-degree temperature. One complicated challenge after another, and this has just been the next one.
Health officials say the vaccine's arrival doesn't mean the pandemic is over.
We have to continue to social distance. We have to continue to wear masks. I know it stinks. It does. Everybody's tired of hearing it.
Faced with rising hospitalizations, states like Washington are extending or adding new restrictions on businesses.
What we do now literally will be a matter of life and death.
President-elect Joe Biden laid out his plan to fight the virus.
Masking, vaccinations, opening schools. These are the three key goals for my first
100 days.
Mr. Biden asked Dr. Anthony Fauci to serve as chief medical advisor.
We have got a lot of hard and demanding work to do in the next year.
The president-elect also urged Congress to pass a $908 billion relief bill this month. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
Biden said his team believes the vaccination rollout might slow down after the initial distribution without additional funding. New results on a possible COVID-19 vaccine from Oxford University and AstraZeneca suggest it is safe and about 70% effective. But questions remain about how well it may help those 55 and older. The Lancet Medical Journal published partial results from the test of the vaccine in the United Kingdom, Brazil, and South Africa on Tuesday. Researchers claim the vaccine protected against disease in 62% of those given 2 full doses, and in 90% of those initially given the half dose. However, independent experts say the second group given the half dose was too small to judge the possible value. Half dose group did not include anyone over the age of 55, and there were only about 20% of people 55 and over in the entire study group. Weight loss surgery can be good for treating obesity, but harmful to your bones. A study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research followed dozens of patients and found those who did a variety of exercises 3 times a week had stronger bones following surgery. Doctors believe exercise is especially helpful for children and young adults who undergo weight loss procedures. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Great temperatures for the next 48 hours. Already seeing some 40s on the board and highs in the 60s later on today with plenty of sunshine. Overnight, managed to stay well above the freezing mark. Great sign. And check out Thursday. We're going to throw some 70s up on the board. Now we've got action. Friday morning starts with rain, drops us down with a cold front on the backside of that. Back right after this.
The latest on the investigation of a fire at the historic Olivia apartment in Joplin. Plus, Joplin police arrest a man accused of attacking a woman on the Frisco Trail. And a look at the strain the pandemic is putting on a Southeast Kansas rural hospital.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. Coming up this half hour, the Supreme Court rejects a legal challenge to Pennsylvania's election results. We'll have the latest. Something to talk about on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. We're asking whether or not you think there should be coronavirus restrictions targeted towards bars. And if so, what should they be? You can also vote in our Insta poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. But first, a check on your forecast.
Kind of a cool looking star outside of Television City right there. You see Venus glowing in the top right hand corner. And we're going to have just an absolutely perfect 2 days at hand as the Skywatch Storm Tracker has just a little cloud cover down to the south. From the Freeman Health System Sky Camera, already sitting at 44 degrees. We will take that for early December. 38 in Pittsburgh, 41 in both Monette and Cassville, 36s in Independence and Parsons. Bus stop forecast with sunrise at 7:20 over Joplin. As the contiguous 48 actually starting to see a little precipitation, especially in the northeast, but in the Midwest, dry as can be and warm as can be, as our temperatures are going to make it up into the high 60s later on today. We'll roll 70s tomorrow, and then we've got rain that develops Friday morning, moves in from the west to northwest, and brings us colder temperatures over the weekend as well. How about 30s and 40s for Saturday and Sunday?
That's right. Going to have some beautiful weather before it gets really cold.
Perfect 2 days. Almost, almost harken back to what you would say like late September, early October weather.
Or Thanksgiving Day.
No, don't have to fight the wind.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Even better.
Next, it's crazy because these temperatures are so warm. And normally I would say, okay, if you were going to tell me 68 and 70 on Wednesday and Thursday in the middle of December, I'd say, okay, that means that south wind's going to come in at 25, 30 miles per hour. Not the case.
We'll take it. We will definitely take it. All right, thanks, Michael. Joplin officials released more information on a fire at the historic Olivia apartment building. Firefighters were called to the scene around 9:30 Monday night. The fire was contained to the 5th floor of the building, and crews were able to put out the fire around 1 a.m. with the last crew leaving at 3:15 yesterday morning. The building was vacant and the fire is still under investigation. Fire Chief Ferguson says the investigation will be a hard one, and that's because crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire, and crew members did have to disconnect power. There was no gas to the structure. Lower levels of the building suffered water damage. Joplin police arrest a man they say assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. On Saturday, officers responded to the area of Euclid and North St. Louis. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. They say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called the police. Authorities arrived at that location and found 36-year-old Aaron Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. JPD says they've submitted charges for the crime of second-degree assault against Aldridge. Pittsburgh police arrest a suspect in a burglary at Horton's Pizza Plus. Authorities say a Horton's employee arrived at work Monday morning and found a brick had been thrown through the front glass of the business and that some property had been stolen. After investigating, police arrested 26-year-old Austin Finnemore of Pittsburgh. Finnemore is charged with burglary, criminal damage to property, and theft of a property. Communities in rural Kansas are being hit hard by the pandemic as the coronavirus spreads across the state, and that's putting a strain on their already short-staffed health departments and hospitals. KOAM's Zach Dodge has what the situation looks like in Wilson County.
The situation in Wilson County has started to get dire.
In the first 7 months, we saw about 60 cases, and now in the last few weeks, we're getting about 60 cases a week.
The county has now exceeded 400 total positive cases, with 30 of them coming over the weekend and 12 new cases just this morning.
We were behind from yesterday because we got so many cases yesterday, so been a fun morning around here so far.
Health Department Director Destiny Wheeler explains they've shifted almost all of their resources to the pandemic, working tirelessly to do contact tracing as cases come in and check up on those under isolation. But with only a handful of contact tracers, keeping up is a challenge.
I don't think we are keeping up. We're doing the best that we can. We're seeing, 20, 25 in a day, and then, it'll slack off to 10 or 12 in a day and then go back up from there.
And the struggles extend beyond the health department. The main hospital in town is a critical access care hospital, meaning it only has 25 beds and no real way to take care of a COVID patient who needs intensive care.
That's scary because if you have to call multiple places and it takes hours to transfer out a patient who can't breathe well, we get nervous, the family gets nervous, the patient is not in the place where they need to be.
County Health Officer Jennifer McKinney explains the County Commission recently put a mask mandate into place and hopes that it will make a difference. But that will only happen if residents choose to do what they can to flatten the curve and make sure no more of their neighbors lose their lives to the disease.
I grew up here and I do worry when I know that somebody is tested positive for COVID. They might do just fine, but I also know that we see people take a turn for the worse really quickly. And I worry with every single patient that gets sick that might happen. And I want to be sure that we're able to take care of them.
In Wilson County, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
There have been 177,000 COVID-19 cases in total in Kansas and close to 2,000 deaths. Doctors at the Oklahoma Medical Research Foundation believe the COVID vaccine is safe and most likely will not have to be taken every year like the flu shot. Researchers say COVID does not mutate as fast as the flu, so one round of vaccinations may be all that's needed to get rid of COVID for good.
The flu that we see every year is a different virus than we've seen before. With the COVID, we don't see that. And ideally, if we can really make a global effort to vaccinate everybody, we may be able to get rid of COVID, like we got rid of polio and like we got rid of smallpox.
OMRF believes the vaccine is very safe and says the more people who get vaccinated, the less of a chance there is for a potentially resistant strain of COVID to appear and flourish. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Why the president is threatening to veto a bipartisan defense spending bill. Plus, should there be coronavirus restrictions targeted toward bars? We let you weigh in our Something to Talk About. But first, it's 6:37.
Temperatures going to be in the 60s today, 70s tomorrow. Remember, big developments begin Friday morning as rain rolls in from the west and drastically drops those temperatures. So find a reason to get outside and enjoy 2 marvelous days of mid-December. Overnight low is going to drop below freezing there all the way through next week. Kind of get back to normal temperatures there for Monday and Tuesday. So once again, don't have to fight the wind, just a whole bunch of sunshine for Wednesday and Thursday. Be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, a bipartisan rebuke to President Donald Trump from the House of Representatives. Despite a threat of a presidential veto, the House approves the spending bill by an overwhelming majority. John Lawrence reports.
The 2020 National Defense Authorization Act passes the House of Representatives by a large margin.
On this vote, the yeas are 335, the nays are 78, with 1 present. The conference report is adopted without objection. The motion reconsidered is laid on the table.
The $740 billion bill includes raises for U.S. soldiers and equipment updates.
Our men and women in uniform put their lives on the line to defend our freedom. We owe them the tools to do their job.
President Donald Trump is threatening to veto the bill because it doesn't repeal a law that protects internet companies from being liable for what's posted on their sites. It also renames military bases with Confederate names and limits the amount of money the president can move for border wall funding.
There are real grave concerns here, and the president stands by that.
Some, like Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, support the president's stance. Others hope Trump will back down from his threat.
Well, I don't think there's a bill that can't have a significant number of one of us say, I wish that provision were different. But we ought to not have our focus on the donut hole. We ought to have our focus on the donut.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
If a presidential veto of the NDAA sticks, special pay for thousands of service members would be affected. The bill now heads to the Senate, where many GOP senators have signaled they would vote to override a veto. Supreme Court on Tuesday rejected an effort by Pennsylvania Republicans to undo the certification of their state's presidential election. Earlier in the day, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton asked the court to overturn the election results in Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. All states President Trump lost after carrying them in 2016. President-elect Joe Biden has filled 2 more seats in his cabinet. Biden chose former Iowa Governor Tom Vilsack as his Secretary of Agriculture. President-elect will also nominate Ohio Congresswoman Marcia Fudge to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Morning Talker.
Hey, Tanya. KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. You've got the lawsuit going on in Wichita. Bar owners suing county and city officials over COVID-19 restrictions. We're asking if you think there should be more or less in place. Vicki Aldridge writes, while I can understand limiting capacity somewhat, restricting hours of operation makes it difficult to make a living when you consider a lot of bars don't really come alive till 10 p.m. It's like telling a restaurant they can only operate from 3 to 6. Richie Housley says, time to get on with life. If you're scared, stay home. Masks don't work anyways. There's no problem with letting 1,000 people in Walmart or Home Depot every day. Kelly Pullen says if they're going to target bars, they also need to target the sports people can't seem to live without. So concerned about strangers, she asks, what about your kids? And Sean Rhodes, should not be any restrictions on business. Businesses know this. They shouldn't need a lawsuit just to operate. Those in elected positions need to be reminded that they work for us. Right now in the morning Insta poll, 60% of you say there should be more restrictions for bars when it comes to COVID-19 compared to 31% who say nah, it needs to be less. You can make your voice heard. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with birthdays and anniversaries right after this.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero. Senior Airman Thomas Sievert, a member of the United States Air Force. He was stationed in England for 3.5 years. His hometown, Walnut, Kansas. We are proud to salute Thomas Sievert, our 4-state hero.
We begin our birthday list off with Harley Murphy. Check out that bow, fit for a big 3-year-old right there. Happy birthday to Harley in Fort Scott.
All right, and we've got Brooklyn Zorn celebrating birthday number 5 this year in Baxter Springs.
Azalea Rose, what a beautiful name right there. Happy birthday. She is celebrating her 7th, and she's in Arcadia.
Man, this one's hard to believe. Already 9
what's up, dude?
years old for Cruz Harold, turning 9 this year. Wow, happy birthday, Cruz, in Pittsburgh.
Happy birthday, Mr. Cruz. Cameron Stansberry, he is turning 11, football in hand right there. A happy birthday to Cameron in Arcadia.
Lily Hauser celebrating number 13 this year. Welcome to the teenage years, Lily. There she is, there in Fort Scott. Special, which is coming from Mom, Dad, and Drew.
Teenager, huh? Winter Moore has a 25th birthday, named apropos for the season right there. Happy birthday to you, Winter, in Pittsburgh.
All right, happy birthday with love from your mom. Going out to DJ Beeson, who's now 28 years old. Happy birthday, DJ, in Sheldon, Missouri.
And Shirley Hauschel, she has her 60th birthday. Miss Shirley wants you to have a marvelous one in Carthage.
Susie McCauley turning 65 years old this year. Happy birthday, Susie.
Cindy Johnson, she is celebrating in Chetopa. Happy birthday to Cindy. Miss Marilyn Westervelt, happy birthday to you in Columbus. Margie Morris, she has a birthday. Margie is in Cherryvale. And Angela Carlinger, 38, in the Burg. Do we have the one on standby? I'm not sure. Look, that dude! Who that is? Hey, Nate, I want you to have a marvelous birthday, my man. It's belated, but it doesn't matter.
Is he posing?
That is compliments of his daughter, Hattie. Wonderful, wonderful family right there. It's Nate, it's been a pleasure to call you my friend. So happy birthday to Nate. Now, everybody go give him a hard time. That you have my permission to do that right now. Thank you very much, Will York, for making that happen, man. I greatly appreciate it. All right, let's check in with some very important birthday announcements from Tanya Bach.
All right, you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Why were you rolling your eyes with me? Oh, it's great when we let people behind the scenes right there. There's Venus up there. Beautiful shot outside the Television City right there. Cloud, a little light cloud cover, just giving us some great colors. Weather almanac, record high for today. We're going to challenge it. I don't think we'll get all the way there, 71, but it gives you an idea of the warming trend that we have on our hands. Freeman Health System Sky Camera campus looking gorgeous on this Wednesday morning, 44 degrees. I love the humidity sitting at 58%. Yeah, it's abnormally dry, but it also means we don't have to worry about fog. 38 in Pittsburgh, 32 in Miami, and 39 in Nevada. No worries on the bus stop forecast. Get up into about the mid-40s here by the time they get ready for recess, but you know, quickly warming up because we got another 20 degrees to go after we even get past the 9 o'clock hour. Skywatch Storm Tracker, even the cloud cover that we had down to the south is now kind of falling away. Contiguous 48, we've got a good snowstorm up in the northeastern portion of the United States. They need some of this rain up in Big Sky country, not bad for them. We're on the backside of the ridge of the jet stream. That means abnormally warm temperatures, not only for today, but also Thursday as well. Thursday, we're going to press up, see some 70s there. Now, Friday is when the action begins to develop. Number one, rain kicks out here, and then our temperatures are going to fall Friday into Saturday. Now, the wintry mix, that'll really stay on the west side of Wichita. Ours will mainly be rain. If we see anything flip over, it's just going to clip our far northwestern counties. But the temperatures, drastic change here for Saturday and Sunday. About a 30-degree difference from where we're going to be in the middle of the week. And then those overnight lows going to continue to fall right below freezing. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A mass coronavirus immunization campaign is now underway in the UK, fueling hopes that one will soon begin in the U.S. A new report from the FDA says Pfizer's vaccine appears to be both safe and effective. On Thursday, an independent advisory panel will vote on whether to recommend it be approved for emergency use. Health officials in Wilson County, Kansas, try to keep up with an influx of coronavirus cases. The county recently exceeded 400 total cases, and now their contact tracers are working to find all those exposed, but are having a hard time keeping up. And the health officer explains that their local hospital is not equipped to handle COVID-19 patients who need intensive care, but they are having a hard time finding beds available at larger hospitals. Joplin officials released more information on a fire at the historic Olivia apartment building. Monday night's fire was contained to the 5th floor of the building. The building was vacant and the fire is still under investigation. Crews have not been able to reach where the fire may have started due to the only staircase being burnt through. Electric was running to the building at the time of the fire. Lower levels of the building suffered extensive water damage. Joplin police arrest Aaron Aldridge after he allegedly assaulted a woman on the Frisco Trail. A woman told officers that a man on the Frisco Trail attacked her, held a knife to her throat, and demanded she follow him. Police say the victim told them the man ran away when she told him that her husband was coming. Officers searched the area but could not find the suspect. They say 2 days later, the victim spotted the suspect in Webb City and called police. Authorities arrived at that location and found Aldridge and arrested him on active warrants. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
I'm telling you really fast, just want to go back to the story about the Olivia apartment fire. Guy Hansen, one of our regular posters on Facebook, he sent this to us this morning, some interior pictures of the Olivia. He says it was very glamorous, fireplace. He gives pictures of the lobby and the lobby ceiling, and just gorgeous. Thank you, Guy, for sending those in. He says this was the #1 building on my wish list for restoration. So yeah, and Guy, once again, I know that a lot of times we greatly appreciate your contributions, and 99% of the time we're talking about something political. So I really appreciate you taking your time to send those to us. Highs today in the high 60s. It's going to be absolutely delightful, not only for today, but also tomorrow, where we'll be up into the 70s. We're going to challenge some records for December 9th and 10th. Now remember, when the Friday morning rain kicks in, it's going to be followed by a cold front. That's why that arrow drops right there. And it's going to be a chilly weekend, so take advantage here of these next 2 phenomenal mid-December days.
Well, the Koam Toy Box Campaign is underway, and we need your help to make it a Merry Christmas for all 4 state children. We're asking our viewers, that means you, to donate new unwrapped toys or donate money that can be used to buy toys.
Well, those toys are going to go to distribution centers around the 4 states, and then families have a chance to shop for the kids on their list. That way we all come together and make sure every child has a present on Christmas morning. So if you'd like to help, there's actually a couple of options.
That's right. You can drop off your new unwrapped toy at our stations in Joplin at 7th and Rangeline, or at our main studio south of Pittsburgh on Highway 69, or you can make a donation with a credit card during our Toy Box Tuesday telethons during our noon, 5, and 6 o'clock newscasts. Or you can donate online anytime at KOAMNewsNow.com or on our KOAM News app.
Fortunate enough to be joined by our own Jesse Irwin. Sir Irwin, what do we have coming up when we flip on over to Fox 14?
Well, please know if toys start disappearing from the studio, it's because they're slowly making their way here, but they're all going toward a good cause. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up on Fox 14. We're talking about how Mount Everest is looking a little taller, talking about COVID-19 Hanukkah, and of course, we're going to be talking about how to be a good neighbor. All that on Fox 14.
Excellent. Wraps it up for this Wednesday. Have a great safe.
Is brought to you by Freeman Health.